Welcome to Saturday Morning Retro, Episode 8. Before we start the show, we want to thank all of our wonderful fans who have supported us. And if you want to show support for the Rated G Network, you can find us on Patreon at patreon.com/RatedG4Gamers. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Rated G4Gamers. And finally, please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. We appreciate all the love. I'm your host, Dave Rotino, and this is my co-host, Dan. I can't get enough of retro video games. Robinson.
What's going on, man?
Well, Dan, this is our very special Saturday Morning Retro. It is our last Saturday Morning Retro of the year. So, very excited. And for people who don't know, for people just coming into Saturday Morning Retro who may know our normal Rated G show, this is slightly different. This is a podcast where we dive into our backlog and we talk about all things retro. All right. It kind of gives us a chance to go back and play the games that we may have just bought and put on the shelf and didn't have time for, or to go back and revisit those games that we used to play back in the day. So.
Yeah, this is just a show where I make Dave feel old because, like, he was in college while I was in grade school.
Yes. You know. Methuselah Rotino over here. That's right.
You're a grizzled vet, man. You're a grizzled vet.
I remember when the Atari came out and I had my 21st birthday. Now get out of here.
Yeah, there you go.
Wasn't even born yet.
Listen. You told me stories of when you were in college and you played multiplayer and everybody brought their Atari systems and hooked it up to the CRT. You guys were playing multiplayer Spider-Man on the Atari.
4-player Warlords. There you go.
There you go.
Oh my God.
This is just a show to make you feel old.
This guy. See, this is how I know he's bad at math. We are 2 years apart, folks. All right.
2 times 10.
2 years apart right now. This is how I know this guy's bad at math.
Listen, and you're back in your prime. Reagan was president. Come on.
Hey man. I remember those days. They were terrible.
I don't remember those days. I was like 5.
No.
I was like 5 years old.
Yeah. I was a very aware baby.
You were like Doogie Howser. You were in college and you were like 2 years old.
I'm accelerated.
There you go.
Anyway.
So this is the last Saturday Morning Retro of the year.
It is last Saturday Morning Retro. We have had 8 episodes so far, and they've been fantastic to do.
And I know there's an excuse for us to play our backlog because we have at least I have a huge backlog.
Same. I'm getting there. Think I'm about at 1,600 games right now, so feeling pretty good.
Nice. It's about time. You told me you didn't even hit 1,500 like last episode.
I missed a bunch of games. I'm bad with cataloging them, so I'll throw them up on the shelf. I'll take the pictures for the gram. I'll put them up on the shelf, and I'll forget to go back, look at the gram, and put them into my spreadsheet. So I'll go. I have recently I bought my second copy of Crysis 3 because my 360 games were not up to date. So I found like at least 20 games I didn't have.
Dave, you need to come up with a system. I keep telling you.
I have
over and over again.
I know.
Well, your system is obviously broken, Dave.
Don't put them away until you catalog them. I know.
I have a box that it's as soon as the games come in, they go in that box.
Yep.
The games don't go on the shelves until I catalog. So
That's fair. It's a good system. I have to take your advice and do that.
But then I have to make sure. I have to personally make sure. As soon as they're cataloged, I got to put them in the collection.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you gotta photograph them too. Make sure they're.
Well, I take a photo as soon as they come. As soon as they come, I take a photo and I put them in the box.
Good
and it's like, all right, it's time. I have some time. I have some free time. It's going to take a while, right? Because I got to move everything around. Because I got to, alphabetical order. I don't know about you, but I have almost 4,000 games. I'm 96 games away, 94 games away from 4,000.
Yeah, that's nothing to sneeze at.
So when I get games that are like, and they begin with like A, B, C, or D, I cringe. I cringe.
You gotta move everything over.
I gotta move everything over. It's like I get a game and it starts with a T. I'm like, oh, okay, all right. This is good. This is good. I could just move the first part right over because it's like it's going to be in that first two parts. But I got to move the whole shelf. Oh my god!
So I don't know if you were into CD collecting or CD buying on the level that maybe I was, but I had like binders and binders of CDs. I had over 400 CDs at my peak, and because they were in the binders, right? You have an A, you got to move everything over.
Oh, that's worth. Oh, that's brutal.
Ever. So
that's brutal.
So you'd purposely leave a couple of spaces every like letter to give yourself a little bit of like breathing room because you know the A is coming, right? You know you're going to get an Ace of Base or an ABBA CD at some point in time, and you're going to be kicking yourself for it. So.
And see, so in that case, I would wait to have at least like 10 CDs I would have to put in.
Right.
Like I'll just keep it separate until it's like, oh, I got 10 CDs now. I got to put them all in, and then you can start moving. Then it's worth it, right? So,
the good thing was eventually I got smart and I would buy the CD cases where you could insert and remove the pages. So I would do what you did. I would wait, 4 or like 8, I guess, right? 4 on each side, and then insert a new thing in there, and then it'd be easy.
Okay. That works. That works.
Yeah.
All right, but look,
you got to get those hacks.
Look, we have an amazing show this month. Okay. And coming up, we're going to talk Final Fantasy IX. We're going to talk PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Is it better than people think? Well, maybe, right? You never know. But let's start off, as we always start Saturday Morning Retro, with this month in gaming history, and let's talk about Final Fantasy.
Oh,
Dave's favorite franchise.
Thank you.
Or one of his favorite franchises.
That's right. Yeah, it's up there, like top 3, baby. Metroid, Final Fantasy, and third one's always a toss-up, but definitely.
Dave drives me crazy with Final Fantasy. He always talks Final Fantasy. He drives me nuts, man.
With it. It's good. It's good.
He always says, "Let's talk about the double F," and I always say it's the triple F. And you can use your imagination what the third F stands for.
It's a triple F, like the F in BFG, huh? All right.
There you go.
All right.
But I do have to give it its due. It is a popular franchise, and it all started on the Famicom back in December 18th.
Wow.
Funny enough, exactly today, the day that we're recording this episode.
Yep.
December 18th, 1987.
That's crazy. It'd be even crazier if this was the American release, because in Japan, Christmas isn't the big holiday like it is here. Even though it's like a religious holiday too, but like I think we celebrate it a little bit more. They do some Christmas stuff there, but it's Christianity is not their major religion. So for a game to come out December 18th is technically like any other day, right? It's not a big holiday.
Yeah.
Around that time, but that's awesome. I did not know that it came out December 18th. I knew it was 1987 though. That's crazy. And that's the game that started it all. I think I mentioned it last week because Final Fantasy 1 was the game that I had up on the block. And legend has it that it's called Final Fantasy because it was Square's kind of last-ditch effort to put something out that would be profitable enough for them to kind of continue, or it would just be their swan song, right? That's kind of how the legend goes. And it did so well, right? Because it blended Western sensibilities, things like D&D and this and that, with kind of the Japanese anime aesthetic, and they put those two together and they made Final Fantasy. So that's crazy.
Well, it all originated 23 years ago. Or 33 years ago.
33 years ago, yeah.
33 years ago.
Yeah.
Today.
We're going to get a 35-year anniversary pretty soon. And they're going to do something big, I think.
Well, you know what? Final Fantasy 16, baby.
Oh, my God. Yes, I can't wait.
So, but we like to start the show off with talking about all of our retro pickups. Well, our pickups in general, retro or not, right? So, I usually have like these big, massive pickups. And we always, put it on, and we both have put it on Instagram. And this is the time I actually get a chance to talk about it. Now, hopefully, Saturday Morning Retro, the first one in January, I hope to have some big name pickups. Okay, I'm getting excited just thinking about it. Getting excited just thinking about it. But, Dave, did you get any good pickups this month?
Always, Dan. Always good pickups. Some of the highlights from the month are Minecraft Story Mode for the Wii U. All right.
Good. No, that's actually a good pickup. Because Minecraft Story Mode for the Wii U, that the whole game is on the disc. You don't have to download it. So if the servers are down, you don't have to worry. You have the whole. You can still play.
Pretty sure I got that for $5 at GameStop. So very, very happy about that. Resident Evil Revelations for the Wii U.
Another good pickup for the Wii U.
The aforementioned Crisis 3, so I goofed, so now I have 2 copies.
The third time you got it.
Second time, but yeah. Tetris Blast for the Game Boy.
What is Tetris Blast anyway?
Tetris Blast is...
What's different about it? Do you blast stuff in it?
I believe Tetris Blast is the one with the bombs. So if you make lines and there's a bomb, you can kind of like do a chain reaction and it'll like blow up a couple of squares around it. I think that's Tetris Blast, or that may be Tetris 2. But yeah, it's essentially Tetris with like bombs that are built into certain pieces.
Gotcha.
So it kind of switches it up a little bit. It's not like it's not a bad Tetris by any means, but it's definitely not like top tier. It's definitely not my favorite Tetris, but it's good.
Okay.
It's got a lot of tape around the box, which no fault on the guy who sold it to me, but I bought it off of like an Instagram claim sale, and I thought the box would be in better condition. It wasn't, but it's still good.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you right now, I got a lot of SNES and N64 boxes with clear tape on it. Yeah. That have clear tape, trying to keep them stitched together like Frankenstein. Right.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
I gave them a good home. I gave it a good home.
That's all that matters.
You just got to get some plastic to put it in, right? And it'll keep the shape of it. Yeah.
Speaking of which, I have to get some more of those. I'm out of my Super Nintendo boxes. The little plastic inserts. Yeah.
Where do you order it from?
eBay. I got them off eBay.
From eBay?
Yeah.
It was a custom place. I got to look for it. It was custom. I think Middle Jesus suggested it.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. I mean, they all come from China, I think, for what it is, and haven't necessarily found a better price for them. So I just get them off eBay when I can. But also got City of Heroes for PC. That's the superhero MMO game. They did City of Heroes, and then City of Villains was the sequel where you could play as the villains, which was kind of cool. EverQuest 2, the sequel to almost the granddaddy of MMOs, right? I think the Ultima Online was the kind of the granddaddy of them all, and then EverQuest kind of blew it up. Got Animaniacs for the SNES, Tiny Toons Buster Bust Loose for the Super Nintendo, and NHL 96.
That's a good game. Not
Tiny
NHL.
Toons, yeah. Tiny Toons. Wow, NHL 96 is still good. It's just not that much different.
Not as good as Tiny Toons Buster.
No. Fair enough.
Bust Loose. Yeah.
NBA Live 96. Ends. I got to thank my mom, because a lot of these games came from my mom doing the hustle for me. She calls me up every now and again and says, "Hey, I'm at a garage sale."
Putting your mom to work, putting your mom in the streets, putting her to work.
That's exactly right. It's like she's a video game foot shoulder. All right. And most of these games came from, well, I say like half these games came from that. And the diamond in the rough of this collection, Azure Dreams, is like, like $40 to $50 loose, and I got it with the game and the manual. No box, but and like.
Well, now you gotta find the box.
I know. I gotta like piece that together.
Find the box.
Right. Which is probably the easier part, I think. Right, just finding the box.
No, well, certain like rare games, finding the box by itself is just like impossible. So okay, that's good. That's a good haul this month. I had a pretty good haul myself. All right, so I got the Flintstones Rescue Dino and Hoppy for the NES. That's not the expensive one. It's not the expensive one. No.
It's not the Dinosaur Peak game. No.
No.
Okay.
This game cost. Just take some zeros away. That's how much this game costs.
Okay, so this isn't affordable. This is a low to mid tier price range.
Yeah, this is not a $2,000 game. This is a $20 game.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, you can get this game. Game. A game I thought I had was like a shoot 'em up. Sky Shark for the NES. So thought I had this game. Didn't have this game. Had to pick this game up.
Good stuff.
I like the. I'm no good at shmups, but I always give it the good college try. A game I was super surprised to see was up there in price. It's like almost $100 if you want Indiana Jones for the N64.
Oh yeah,
which was super surprising. I didn't pay nearly as much as that because the label, Indiana Jones's face, is ripped off.
Oh well, how do you know it's the Indiana Jones game? It could be anything.
Because it's it's Indiana Jones. It says Indiana. It just doesn't say Jones.
It's actually Indianapolis 500. You got a racing game.
There we go. Well, I got Harrison Ford's chin on it. Okay, it's just like I don't have his nose and his eyes and his hat.
They got to use his likeness. Nice.
So I got that for a vastly cheaper price. I'm giving it a good home, right? I'm giving it a good home. That's how I'm looking at it. A game that it's like you either love it or hate it, from what I can tell. And I know you hate it just because it's on the original Xbox. I know how much you hate the original Xbox for some weird reason. But some people like this game. Some people really like this game, and and it's an Xbox. I think it's an Xbox exclusive too, so you can only play it on the OG Xbox, and that is Tron 2.0 Killer App.
It was a console exclusive, I think. I don't think it was on PS2, so I think you're right about that. It was on PC. I remember that.
Well, I assume everything is on PC, but I don't think I need to say console exclusive.
Because it's the best platform, except for Nintendo games. You'll almost never see a Nintendo game on the PC.
Well, and officially from Nintendo, you can find it. You find a mod of
sure.
PC. Sure. That's the case. I got Home Alone 2 for the SNES. Thought I had this game because I was a big Home Alone fan. And I think I rented part 2. I know I played part 2 at my house at some point. It's better than part 1. Part 1 is a terrible game. Part 1's a terrible game.
Yeah.
But I do have part 1. I got part 1 as part of my my pickups for the Game Gear, which was a much better game than the original on the SNES and Genesis.
Oh, I had that. I had the SNES one. I made my mom buy it over F-Zero.
Oh man,
that's
bad
how much
decisions
I love
we make when we're kids.
That's how much I love that movie.
The bad decisions we make when we're kids.
Exactly, and even the guy behind the counter was like, "Nah, dude, you really want F-Zero?" He was really trying to come on. He was giving me the wink, like, "You don't want this game," and I'm like, "Nah, I really want it." Like he really tried. So, thank you, dude at KB Toys who was making like $5 an hour back in the day. My heart goes out to you because now I know.
Well, he probably would have been doing the same thing for this next game, and that's Superman for the Genesis, which was vastly better than the Superman for the NES, which was terrible. It was terrible. I can't even tell you how terrible that game was. That game was so terrible, I decided not to pick it up this month.
Jeez.
That's how bad that game is.
All right.
It makes no sense, but. Superman for the Genesis, much better than the NES game, but still bad in its own right. It's like this: getting shot is worse than getting stabbed, but I don't want either. That's Superman for the Genesis. It may be getting stabbed, not getting shot.
Wow.
Still bad. I don't want
it. That is a morbid analogy right there, but okay.
I had to take a dark turn for this analogy. I'm sorry.
I see.
Sticking with the Genesis, got Dashin' Desperados. I think it's like a unique game because you play as, even single player, you it's like split screen and you're trying to dash to the end of the end of the level, right? With lots of obstacles in front of you.
All right.
People say it's bad. It is bad. Don't get me wrong. In the grand scheme of things, it's bad, but it's unique. It's a unique concept for the time. It's on the Genesis.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
I got Rival Turf for the SNES. Also, beat 'em up game.
Remember that game? Final Fight. Actually, it was pretty good from what I remember.
I got Vigilante 8-Second Offense for the Dreamcast, which was like a Twisted Metal knockoff, right? Mm-hmm. So I got that. Game. I got Mario Superstar Baseball for the GameCube in box, complete. So people think that's up there in price too.
Yeah, it is. Getting
a little pricey now. Mm-hmm. A game that you would definitely hate because it's on the original Xbox, and a lot of people hate this game. It's called one of the worst games on the Xbox, and that's Drake of the 99 Dragons.
Dan, this game is one of the worst games of all time. It is literally unplayable.
It's not unplayable. Stop it. Stop it.
It is.
It's a bad game.
It is.
It's a bad game, but I don't think it's unplayable.
No, it is. It is. They have bugs in the game that prevent you from completing it. It is unplayable.
So it's the cyberpunk of its time?
No. It's the Superman 64 with even more game-breaking bugs. Like, at least Superman 64, you can power your way through and eventually possibly beat the game. You cannot.
You can't beat Superman 64. Who can get through those damn rings in time? No one.
Listen. If you put enough effort into it, you can do it. It's just got terrible controls. But like Drake's a 1-star game. It was so bad, the official Xbox magazine gave it a 1 out of 10. They had to put a little stinking turd symbol next to the rating of the game. It was that bad. I
like the aesthetic. The aesthetic looks good. The art style looks good.
Yeah, and it like apparently came with a comic, and even like the cutscenes.
I don't have the
comic book style. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was supposed to be cool, and it turned out to not.
And lastly, I'm still waiting for some Cyber Monday and Black Friday pickups from GameStop, who are taking forever to come. But I did get my Cyber Monday Amazon game, and that was Maneater for the Xbox One.
Nice.
Where you play as the shark, and you go around eating everything.
Yeah.
Eventually, I want to get to that. I definitely want to get to that and play that. That seemed super cool, super interesting. RPG shark game, right?
Right.
To level up your shark.
Speaking of unique experiences, right?
There you go, right? A game may not stand the test of time, may not be great, but it's a unique experience. It's something different that they're trying. And I always love when they try new things. Mm-hmm. When a developer tries new things, thinks outside the box.
Right.
All right. So, Dave, it's a part of the show. It's one of my favorite segments of the show. And that's our Triple R segment. That's where we talk about, we take a game, we take a franchise, and we either want to remaster, remake, or recycle it. Right? I'm going to go, and I'm going to talk about Maximo. Okay? For the PS2. Maximo, definitely in the Ghost and Goblins, universe. It was their foray into 3D. And it was in good concept. It was poorly executed in some parts. Putting up your shield. It looked great. The aesthetic looked great. It definitely had the Ghost and Goblins music, right? And you would think this is a great idea with the concept of you're a knight, and every time you get hit, you get into your underwear, which was always unique at the time. And you have the sword, and you have the shield, and you're like hacking and slashing skeletons. Mm-hmm. It's not as hard as the original game, but it's definitely hard. It's not an easy game.
Okay.
I would love to get a remake of this game and fix certain things. And I definitely want the Soup to Nuts remake. I want a Resident Evil 2 style remake. Mm-hmm. And I want you to make the save better. The save functions better. Trying to get a save is like in the middle of the stage, and you could see it right there, and then you die, and you got to do everything all over again in that stage to get there. It sucks. Yeah. And when you die, to get continues, you have to pay. You have to pay the Grim Reaper, so you have to actually collecting money in the stages is important, or you can't come back. You just die.
Jeez.
putting up your shield sucks. So there's certain enemies where you have to dodge, right? You have to block. You have to put up your shield. Your reaction time for the shield can be too slow, and you're like, "No, I pushed a button. Why is the shield not going up simultaneously when I pushed the button?" So that needs to be fixed. And platforming when the platform falls on those on those parts of the game, that needs to be fixed too. Because you'll jump, and it's like you can tell it's crumbling, and you got to jump again, and then it's like, "No, I jumped." And you're falling. But no, I jumped in time. Like, it's just those parts are broken. I'm sorry. So, well, but damn. I like the concept, the idea and the concept of what they were trying to do. And there were 2 Maximo games on the PS2.
Yeah, that's right. Maximo and the Army is in, and Maximo. Maximo.
I don't remember the exact subtitles, but
one is definitely Armies is in. Yeah.
I want a remake of the first one.
Yeah,
just
sure.
a regular Maximo game.
Sure.
Just give me a remake of that first game, and that would be great. And put it out on a physical copy on the Switch too.
Oh, of course.
That's what I want.
Of course, got to make it physical. Nice. All
right. So what about you? What's your triple R game?
Oh, so I'm going way back then. You want to talk about old games? I'm taking it back to 85.
Come on, back to your high school days. Yeah. Back to your high school days. Okay.
Yeah, I'm taking it back to 85. Taking it back to the Commodore 64, the beige box. And there was a game, which I think only came out on the Commodore 64 too, interestingly enough, made by Accolade, who is probably best known for their Hardball series. They put out a couple versions on Genesis, Super Nintendo, I think even Nintendo. But they also made this game called Law of the West, which is a game...
Never heard of it.
Well, it's a game where you're a sheriff. You're a sheriff of a Wild West town somewhere in the West. And you have interactions with the different townsfolk. There's 10 or 12 different townsfolk that you have interactions with. And they can be like banditos, or they can be Jezebels or fair maidens. There's even a little kid. You talk to the doctor. Outlaws, and you choose different dialogue options, and based on what you choose, that kind of affects the outcome of the way the game is played. So you can get into a shootout with somebody, right? If you end up talking bad to them. Sometimes you can trigger certain events, right? If you talk to somebody and you're like, "Oh, I heard about this train robbery that's going to happen." Later on in the game, they'll have possibly a train robbery scene, and you'll have to protect the train from the goods because people are trying to rob it. You can shoot the doctor. If you get shot in the game, they'll the doctor will come around and try and patch you up, right? And it's kind of like a continue system. And sometimes he can save you, sometimes he can't, depending on how bad the wound is. But if you kill the doctor, because you come up with the doctor eventually. If you kill the doctor can't save you anymore. You killed the town doctor, so you just bleed out and die on the streets.
Oh my god!
But
so
I want
for a Commodore 64 game, so grim.
Yeah, man, it's brutal, and even when you get patched up, because it's you see behind the sheriff. So you see a 3/4 view of behind him, and you see the gun in the holster on the right hand side. So you can see a big patch over the arm where he was bleeding out. It's really cool. But I would love to see a remaster of this. Take the game, make some modern visuals to it, right? Put it on the modern consoles. Maybe add a few little extra bells and whistles, maybe some achievements and whatnot, maybe some extra dialogue options. You don't got to do much to it, 'cause I think it'd be kind of cool. I think it would still kind of hold up today. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's my game.
That's a good pick. I mean, that's an old pick. You're reaching back in. You're reaching back in the nostalgia days.
85.
The 80s.
85. Came out the same year the Nintendo debuted in America. So, yeah.
Okay. No, what system would you want this remaster on? All systems?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I want the new Maximo game on the Switch. That's what I want.
Yeah. I mean, you could totally play this game on the Switch. Anything that has a joystick on it, because you really just have to be able to pull your gun out and aim around the game world. Because the people will walk out and then they'll stand in the middle of the stage, and then they'll you either get into a shootout or they'll like walk away. So you need to be able to like pull your gun out. Like if you're like, I don't like the way that guy talked to me, and they're like walking away, you can totally shoot him in the back. So you just need to be able to like have an analog stick or something on there.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Well, I've never even heard of this game because I never had a Commodore 64.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is this on the Commodore 64 Mini? Do you know?
It may be. It may actually be because it's not a licensed property. It was made by Accolade, so I think it would probably be an easy license to get. And it was definitely one of the better games on the system, so it may be on there. Yeah.
I gotta try. I have it, so I can check to see if I haven't. I can play it. I can try it out.
I think you'd enjoy it. I don't want to hype it up too much, but yeah.
All right. So why don't we take a break now? And when we come back, we're gonna dive deep into our backlog and talk PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, Final Fantasy IX. We're back. All right, let's dive deep into our backlog. So, I played a game that was kind of controversial at the time, right? It's not Cyberpunk, not Cyberpunk. I don't think we've seen anything like Cyberpunk controversial.
Oh, boy, yeah. Okay,
but usually when people hate on a game, it's usually like PlayStation fanboys or Xbox fanboys. This was kind of Nintendo fanboys hating, if you ask me, on this game. Okay, and this is what 2012, actually November 20th, 2012, and that is PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
Right. This was PlayStation's answer to Smash Brothers, correct?
This was PlayStation's direct duplicate of Smash Brothers. I mean, come on, it was sure. Right? It was. Sure. And it's funny how Nintendo is like family friendly and like Xbox is like more mature. It's like this, it's like the Genesis of its time, right? They're the Sega of its time, and PlayStation's sort of in that middle tier where they can have like family friendly games, centric games, Japanese centric games, and then they have like mature rated games. So they like, I think they play the field. They do both. Right. They're not known for one. They just do a little bit of both.
You can get the Little Big Planet and you can get the Uncharted. All in the same system.
Well, I was going to say you can get the Little Big Planet and you can get Bloodborne.
Sure. Yeah, well, I think it's an extreme. Yeah,
this is extreme. Just to go to extreme. Just go to extreme.
Right.
But
right.
Sony does, they do experiment. And we did talk about, games and developers that do different things. And I love it when they go outside the box and do something different. And this was something different for them. Right. And I don't know if you remember the commercial about Michael back in like 2011. This was like 9 years ago. And it was a commercial about Michael. It was like a commercial about a bar and all these different video game characters are talking about Michael. Yeah. Yes, to Michael. Yes, to Michael. And then they look at Michael and it's just some guy, some kid playing with a PlayStation controller. Yeah. And then you look at the ceiling and there's a picture of all the Michaels with just regular players with controllers, right?
Right. They had the stupid idea to CG Kratos, and he looks so out of place.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just get a dude and put body paint on him? I don't understand. So I remember that commercial. It was a great commercial, though. It
was a great commercial. Yeah, it was great to see like Solid Snake and everybody like. And it was just crazy. It was like something different we'd never seen before. So this game was made by Superbot Entertainment, published by Sony. It came out on PlayStation 3 and the Vita simultaneously. And if you bought it digitally, if you bought it once for the PS3, you can play it on your Vita as well, digitally.
Nice.
It was the start of the digital future. It was the start. We didn't know it. It was the start of the Terminators. It's a fighting game, essentially. And I played it on the Vita. I played the Vita version. So this game was originally going to be developed by Naughty Dog, which in retrospect, I would have loved to see a Naughty Dog version of PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale.
That would have been awesome,
I didn't know this. In doing research for the show, I didn't know they were originally going to play it. They were originally going to develop this, but they were in the middle. They were in the middle of making the original Last of Us, and they just couldn't.
Yeah.
You know, they just finished or putting the finishing touches on Uncharted 3,
right?
And they were developing The Last of Us, so they just didn't have the manpower to do this. So Sony decided to form a studio just to do this, and it was Superbot Entertainment back in like 2009, specifically to work, just to work on this game.
Is Superbot still around? Do we know?
That's a good question. I'm going to say no, but I could be wrong. I'm going to say I think they, if I'm not mistaken, I think they dissolved them into something else.
All right. Well, why don't you tell me about the game? I'll look it up a little bit.
I'm not sure. I mean, because you haven't heard anything about Superbot.
No.
After that, right? Like I haven't heard about any of that. But the game. Listen, the game is a good game overall. Like if you take the Smash Brothers comparisons out of it, right? Because that's what people did, and I think this game was doomed from the get-go because people were going to compare this to Smash Brothers because it looks so similar to Smash Brothers. Mm-hmm. But it did have its differences, right? I mean, each character got three attack buttons: dodge, throw, and super. The super button. Each stage had like a mashup of themes, right? So if you're in the Parappa the Rapper stage, it was going to be a mashup of another theme at some point, in the fight towards the latter part of the fight, because each match was timed, right? Okay. So I think you had like 3-4 minutes to fight to see how many times you could kill the other person, and that was the biggest difference too, because there were no drop offs like in Smash Brothers where you could drop off the screen or fall through the screen. It was all about kills. It was all about getting kills. Mm-hmm. And you had 3 special attacks, so you had to level up your power meter. I thought that was pretty cool. I thought that was totally different than Smash Brothers, and I enjoyed doing that. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. And I gotta be honest, this is blasphemous for Smash Brothers people. If you're like a Smash Brothers fanboy,
right?
But I hate falling off that goddamn screen. I hate it.
Who does? Who enjoys that? Who enjoys
I hate it.
Nobody enjoys that.
I hate that.
But that's the whole
that's this part of Smash Brothers I hate. That's the part of Smash Brothers I hate.
But that's the whole thing. That's where you get into the pro level, where there's people that'll spend like, I've seen people spend like 10-15 seconds off of the damn level, just like floating around and like trying to maneuver back up. It's beautiful.
I hate that about Smash Brothers. So when I found out that there was no ring out in the PlayStation All-Stars, I was like, perfect. This is that type of game that I want to play with no ring out. This is awesome. And the power meter. So if you power up the first one, you use it. It's somewhat powerful. The second one is more powerful than the first one. The third one is an automatic kill, right? Mm-hmm. And the ideas of the game are very interesting. Some of the execution of the game, some of the execution could have used a little bit more work. And this is where I said Naughty Dog would have been interesting. Naughty Dog would have developed this,
right?
Because each character has different movesets, but vastly different levels of power. Where they have about 20 different characters. I liked playing as like Kratos because I knew when I powered up to the second level or the third level, automatic, I'm going to get an instant kill. Like, you just got to make sure you position yourself in front of the person and then hit the super button and you're going to get it, right? Mm-hmm. But if you're going to use somebody like Big Daddy from BioShock, it was super slow. Not going to, like that person, doesn't matter if they're in front of you, it's going to be a super slow and they can dodge or get away from you a little bit faster, right? Sure. So it wasn't like it's an instant kill for some and not an instant kill for others. So it was kind of like all over the place with that. Character selection, the thing I was most excited for about this game is I wanted to play as like Kratos. I wanted to play as Nathan Drake. Sure. And I wanted to play as the character from First Light.
Infamous.
There we go.
Infamous. Yeah. I get that and Prototype confused all the time.
Yeah, I wanted to play as those characters because those are known to be PlayStation characters.
Right.
The thing that
exclusive, I think, all the ones you mentioned.
Yeah. The thing that I was less excited for was not a lot of characters. Like, they had some obscure characters I never even heard of, like the fat lady. Like, I don't even know where she's from.
Oh, the fat princess. Yeah,
fat princess. I don't know where she's. I don't know where she's from. That's a Sony character. Big Daddy, Devil May Cry. Like, those came on other platforms. Those aren't PlayStation exclusives.
The Big Daddy was kind of interesting that they would put them in there, yeah, because it was always a multi-platform. I mean, it was PC first, but yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Big Daddy and Devil May Cry. See, the thing that makes Smash Brothers great is they use up front, when you first get the game, you get Nintendo characters,
right?
Like specific Nintendo characters. DLC comes from other characters that may be on different platforms, like Joker. Joker is mainly known for Persona games. Persona games are mainly known to be on Sony platforms, right? So Big Daddy, something like Big Daddy and Solid Snake and not Solid Snake. It was the other character from the spinoff. Platinum Raiden. Yeah. And the characters like that should have been DLC, and they did get DLC characters that weren't exciting. They only got 2, and I think the thing that really killed the game is they didn't really support it, which Sony has this thing of doing, not supporting something if it's not a hit from the get go. You got to build it up a little.
I think they looked at the sales numbers from the outset, and they were like, we have these extra guys. We'll just throw them out there, and then we're done. We're not going to put
let's just substitute like Big Daddy for Crash and Spyro, which are Activision properties now, but are widely
But at the time, they were kind of, they made by Naughty Dog, right?
No. When this game came out, Activision owned the rights to Crash and Spyro.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. I'm saying they are known to be Sony, nostalgia reasons. They're known to be Sony mascots, right? Especially Crash.
Right. It's the same with like Heihachi, right? Tekken was primarily a PlayStation game.
That's right. Yeah, Tekken was in there, but Heihachi was in it. So that makes sense, right? Because it was kind of known as thought of as a PlayStation game because it started on PlayStation.
Yeah.
That was, so I think that was my personal biggest disappointment that it didn't have like Spyro or Crash. Like that's what I want to play as too, but only if their power set, their power moves, their supers were as good or better than Kratos. Because I just want to play as Kratos because I knew he had a weapon.
Yeah,
he was a beast. He had good fighting mechanics. Like that's what I like. But I do like the mashup of the stages, though.
Right.
I do. That was awesome. They had 14 different stages, so for the time. I mean, right now 14 stages is nothing. Right now, today you would need like 30.
Right.
But at the time,
that's actually something. Not to cut you off, but that's something that Smash Brothers adopted. You can blend 2 stages together and switch between them.
Well, that's a good idea, right? The good ideas came out of this.
It is, yeah.
So it had good, good graphics, good animations. You had the character theme songs sort of in the background, right? I think on top of not having Crash or Spyro, the biggest one of the biggest disappointments, and I think this was sort of the nail in the coffin a little bit. They didn't put any time in the cutscenes because they did put story elements in here. Okay. And the cutscenes for each character, every like in the story mode, every character had a cutscene, but they were just drawings with voiceovers.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that's from a budgetary concern. They didn't have enough money to do full on CG.
And they had random rival. It was like random rivalries between the characters that just didn't make any sense. It just kind of didn't make any sense, and I think that because it's a story in a fighting game, right? Like who cares? But it's a fighting game for characters that we know and love, and it kind of should make sense,
right?
Somewhat. They should put a little bit more love into that, and that again, mechanic wise, and storytelling wise, is why it would have been intriguing to see Naughty Dog take a shot at this, because they do both really well, right?
Right.
So especially storytelling.
Yeah.
This game, I want to say, it definitely holds up. It definitely holds up today.
Yeah?
It's an easy pick up and play game, and the menu system, it was criticized for being bland. I call it simple. It wasn't
Okay.
overbearing and confusing.
Doesn't have a lot of flags.
Where I'm not gonna.
Right?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Smash Brothers. If we're gonna compare, because that's all they did when this game came out.
I know.
Was compared to Smash Brothers.
You kind of have to.
I'm gonna say Smash Brothers. Smash Brothers menu system is kind of convoluted, and you can get lost in it and not know what you're doing. I know. I got lost in it.
100%.
I got lost in it.
The last one, Ultimate, is bananas difficult. Usability is out the window. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would say PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale is simple. Yeah,
right.
Bland but simple. You know exactly where to go or what to do.
Right.
That was a benefit where at the time it was a detriment, but I call it a benefit.
Right. So I haven't played this specifically, but it feels like from what you're saying is that the bones are good, right? There's like a good game at the core, and that if Sony just spent a little bit more time and put out a couple more like balancing patches and supported it with some like extra DLC beyond like the 2 characters that they probably held back from the roster to have DLC in the first place, maybe we'd have a continuing franchise out of it. Or at least we would have 100%. A better game for it. Yeah. Okay.
100%. It would have been a little bit more, well received, I would say. I mean,
sure.
People say the audience, did the Sony audience really want this? And it, because this way, obviously, the Sony audience is different than a Nintendo audience,
right?
But if they would have made a better game, they would have, hunkered down in the mechanics, definitely in mechanics, because you got to be able, you got to play it. Mm-hmm. And gave a little bit more love into the story, this would have been a more intriguing game.
Right.
At the time, I got the Vita again. I played the Vita version. Okay. The Metacritic score for this game is 75. The user score is 75 as well.
Wow.
All right. Eurogamer, Portugal, gave it a 90. That was the highest score it got, was a 90. And the worst score it got was from Digital Spy, which is about a 60. And again, all the bad scores I read about this game, all compared it to Smash Brothers.
Of course.
It's all compared it to Smash Brothers. I mean,
and you can't not, right? Because they're obviously aping the Smash Brothers format. So you're going to compare the two. I mean, you kind of have to, right? Because that's kind of the gold standard for this type of 4-player brawl type game, right? That's kind of a fighting game, but kind of more of a party game, but people take it way too seriously sometimes. But
I went into this playing it with no, I didn't try to compare it to Smash Brothers at all. As a matter of fact, I purposely didn't play Smash Brothers for a while just so I can play this game and sort of look at it with a fresh pair of eyes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I really enjoyed the game. It's still in my Vita. I go between that and God of War, the original God of War on Vita. Mm-hmm. I can plug this in and keep playing. My issue is I don't want to beat it with all the characters because I just don't think their moveset, their power levels are adequate enough. Again,
Balancing issues, yeah.
Yeah, Fat Princess it's tough to play with her throughout, the whole campaign. And the campaign is fast, too. It'll take you about 30 minutes.
Yeah?
It take you about 30 minutes to beat. And I have no desire to play with anybody else other than Dante, Big Daddy somewhat, but he's kind of slow. The guy from Infamous and Kratos. So it's a good pick up game. I would say if I had to rate this, I'll give it a solid 8 out of 10.
Yeah. All right.
So what was your game? Tell me about Final Fantasy IX.
Final Fantasy IX, the 9th game in the mainline series. If you did not know.
Was it? Wait.
Yeah.
Was it?
9th game of the mainline series. I
thought it was the 3rd.
No, a lot of people didn't realize 9th game of the mainline series. So last week I did the OG, the first one, Final Fantasy. On this day, the day that we're recording, is the birth of the Final Fantasy franchise. This continues the tradition. There are a lot of Final Fantasy staples that, some of them started off in the first game, some of them started off in maybe the second, third, and by the time they got to the 4th game, they really kind of had their roots down. So things like Chocobos and Moogles and whatever, they always appear. Sid is always a name that appears. He's either an engineer or a king or a scientist or something in the game. So things like that always appear here. But yeah, so this game came out in Japan July 7th, 2000. came out in North America November 13th, 2000. That was kind of a rarity because typically games take a long while to do the translation. They have to kind of deliberate. Is this going to come out on Western shores or not? This was at a time when PlayStation was at its peak. They were putting out some of the best RPG games, so it was like a no-brainer. Squaresoft knew, based on their previous success of Final Fantasy VII, and surprisingly Final Fantasy VIII did fairly well, they said, we're going to go ahead and put 9 out as well. And it was exclusive to the PlayStation. They did not make a PC port of this game. It was developed by Square, before it was Square Enix. It was published by Square Electronic Arts, which is interesting because I think there was some sort of partnership between them. Released on the PlayStation 1. It's a standard JRPG game. And I played this on the Xbox Series X. So they did a remaster of this game. And they added some modern conveniences, and you can kind of speed up the game. You can turn off random encounters. You can overpower your guys just by hitting a single button. I didn't do any of that. Right? I didn't do any of the little special stuff to get you through the game so you could enjoy the story. I played it in its original form, just with like better visuals, right? Because everything kind of looks a little bit crisper. The little bit of background on this game, like. This was a big return to form for the series. Because Final Fantasy VI blended, the magic and the technology. It was kind of a little steampunk, right? And Final Fantasy VII went even further into the technology side. It was a little bit more modern. They actually had vehicles in there. Final Fantasy VIII was cranked up even further. That was even more modern, and kind of one of the worst in the series, according to a lot of people. So this one was more like old school. It was more high fantasy. The crystals were back, which were a mainstay, which weren't in 7, which weren't in 8. Weren't even in 6, actually. They were in like 4 and 5 were the last couple ones. So they kind of went back, and they went back to the super deformed style of characters that were far less realistic, but kind of squat and cute and all that. And a lot of people seem to like that. Me like included. I was definitely a big.
So that was the biggest difference between 8 and 9, right?
Yeah. It was very much a classic Final Fantasy story as opposed to a modern, more modernization of the Final Fantasy. So like 8 kind of almost doesn't feel like Final Fantasy, but they just put enough in there to make it like feel like a Final Fantasy game. Like there's like, oh, there's a guy named Sid, and it's like, okay, obviously it's a Final Fantasy game, but loose. It's a very, very, very loose Final Fantasy. One cool thing about 8 that they did bring over to 9 was their card game. 8 had this game called Triple Triad, which is like a collectible card game, and then you play in like a 3x3 grid. This had something called, I can't even think of the name right now. But they had their own card game, which was expanded out a little bit, played in a 4x4 grid, and you pick up and collect cards, and you battle to win more cards, and you can kind of rank your guy up. So there's a whole like separate mini game thing that you play throughout the whole entire game if you want to, right? Tetra Masters, I think, or something it's called. Which was like kind of cool. The story is pretty...
Tetra Master, you got it right.
Tetra Masters, yeah.
I just looked it up, yeah.
The story's pretty standard, right? It's standard RPG fare, especially for Square. They're going back to their kind of standard form, right? You grind, you upgrade, you watch a story cutscene, and you repeat, right? And then eventually you get far enough in the game, they give you the airship, and then you can fly around the world and do all the extra things and get all the different summons and watch all the extra cutscenes, and then go and beat the game at the end. And I mean, like essentially the story is a bunch of thieves kidnap a princess, and that sets off a chain of events.
Another princess kidnapped. Another princess kidnapped. But
they do a decent job of giving her own agency. She's not a helpless princess. She kind of fights on her own. She's strong. She's got summon magic, right? And she has a good story arc. And it's funny because her mother, mother, quote unquote, turns out to turn against her and wants to kill her daughter.
Oh,
So
God.
what turned out as a simple kidnap, it turned into like a rescue mission in a way. And you realize that the kingdom is corrupt. And I don't want to ruin too much more of the story, but that's where it kind of like kicks off. And you meet all your other party members and you form bonds, and then it comes into the ultimate climax where you fight the big bad evil guy. But yeah. I mean, in terms of the graphics, definitely cutting edge for its time. They look really good. All the battles are in 3D. The summons are big and colorful. All like the magic effects. Pretty spot on for what it is. The sound is good. You get classic Nobu Uematsu. He's the mainstay. He's the mainstay composer ever since the first one up until 10, and then they kind of branch out and switch it up a little bit. But the soundtrack's fantastic. It's a 4-disc set. He even brings back some classic Final Fantasy tracks and reworks them. Not just like the Chocobo theme and not just the prelude, but some like he even goes back to the first Final Fantasy and takes some songs and like kind of like reworks them, which I thought was super cool. But yeah, and I guess like, does the game hold up today? Right. That's like kind of the big question. And I would say yes. It's not really going to be very surprising gameplay wise, right? Standard RPG fare. You fight random monsters on the battlefield. You go through all the story motions. You get characters. It follows a very similar form, but there are some high points.
Well, playing on Games Pass. Well, you are playing the sort of the remastered version.
Yeah,
so
I am.
It's not worth going back to dusting off your original PlayStation 1. You would rather recommend the remastered version, correct?
100%. Yes. There's not anything that the original does better than the remaster. The remaster will give you better graphics, right? It cleaned up a lot of the polygons, so you have a much better resolution on the game, right? They give you infinite save slots. You don't have to worry about swapping memory cards or anything. Load times are a lot quicker, right? Because it's on the Xbox, right? Even on the OG Xbox or the Xbox One, X, or the Series X, it loads up super quick. So you don't have to worry about that. And I mean, there's some small quality of life things in there. Like if you just want to enjoy the story, you can like max out your characters and just like play at your leisure. And then, you reduce the difficulty to like 0, but you still get all the cool cutscenes. You get to play the game, right? If you wanna do that. So yeah.
I'm surprised you went back to this game. What were you looking forward to? What was the thing that made you go back to this?
Well, I haven't played 9 in a while, and I only played it through like one time fully, which most Final Fantasy games have. They're on their 4th or 5th, if not 20th time of me playing through them. So I was like, I remember really liking the game, right? And because it was like the high fantasy versus like the more tech-oriented 7 and 8, I was like, yep, I can definitely get behind this. So I really wanted to see does like the nostalgia hold up? Like that was the reason for me going back, I guess. The only thing that kind of sucks is the end of the game. Like disc 4 is trash. Funny enough, because
how many there? Wait, how many discs were there in the original?
4 discs. Yeah, 4 discs.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
wow,
4 discs on PS1. So that was like almost a DVD's worth of content. It gets really weird at the end. Like you find out the main character's backstory and it gets real weird. And then the big boss that you're following the whole entire game, which you think is going to be the final battle, turns out to not be the final battle. And it turns out to be someone else who you've never even seen before. And you're like, what is this? I have no emotional involvement in fighting this monster. It was a cool battle. Like it looked cool, but I was like, I don't know what this is.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's super solid. It's a really nice package. It holds up well. If you haven't played this game before and you like JRPGs, I would highly recommend it. I just don't think the story is at the end of the game. I think the story goes off the rails a little bit, but otherwise it's pretty solid. Now, if I had to give this game a rating, I'm gonna steal from your rating, Dan, because I think this is also an 8, or maybe an 8.5. If I want to be honest, it's an 8.5. It's almost a 9, and it's definitely not quite a 10. And the marks I have to give against it are the end of the game. I didn't like the way that it all culminated together.
Yeah, the climax didn't really make you climax, essentially.
I wasn't super excited about it. Yeah. I'll say that. I wasn't super excited.
We can put it that way. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to get into some of the critics and the user reaction to it, so when it came out on the PS1, has an overall Metacritic score of 94, which is very high. User score of 90. So they're like, pretty much in lockstep. The best review that we could find on the internet was Games Radar at 100. And the worst rating we could find was Games Critics at 70, which is fair.
Well, to be fair, the Metacritic scores, I think, are the remaster, to be honest. I don't think these are the Metacritic scores of when it came out 20 years ago.
Yeah, probably not, because I don't think Metacritic was around then. But that being said, I don't think the reviews would be much different, because they didn't really, they just added some quality of life things in there, which really just make the game a lot easier. They basically bring down the difficulty barrier, right? That's really what it is. So you can't really knock the graphics, because they were very much in line with the top tier games of its time. Metal Gear Solid, Mega Man Legends, Tekken 3. Like they were really nice, crisp visuals. And this was kind of one of the last big games. I would go as far to say the last big game to come out on PS1 before the PlayStation 2 came out, right? Because the PlayStation 2 came out I think, November of 2000. And this one came out just a couple months before in North America. Actually, it came out November 13th, right? Came out in Japan in July, so it was right around the launch of the PS2. And, man, was this game good. Yeah, I have some good fond memories of it. Well, all right. On that note, I think that will do it for episode 8 of Saturday Morning Retro. And we want to thank everybody for listening to the show and sticking with us and doing all the good stuff that you guys do. If you want to interact with us, and we know that you do, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Rated G for Gamers. Also, we are part of the Gaming Podcast Alliance. You can check out all of the fine podcasts featured on there at gamingpodcastalliance.com if you're looking for more gaming goodness. So, please listen, like, rate, review, and subscribe. And as always,
keep gaming.